What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing. I just finished up watching Artur Beterbiev versus Joe Smith Jr., and this was a 12-rounder for the unified WBC, WBO, and IBF Light Heavyweight World Championship. And this fight was Saturday, June 18th, from the Madison Square Garden Theater in New York City, New York. And this fight was broadcasted on ESPN, ESPN Plus, or on the ESPN app. And in this fight, Joe Smith Jr. got destroyed. Artur Beterbiev got a second round knockout victory. This was a dominant showing of Artur Beterbiev's power. No one was predicting this. At most, they were predicting a late stoppage win for Beterbiev. This was an insane performance for Beterbiev. He was able to drop Smith Jr. 3 times, stopped him in 2, and these were the only 3 times that Smith has been dropped in his entire career, amateur and pro. Leading up to the stoppage, I had this bout scored 10-8 in favor of Artur Beterbiev. And just to break down this fight, in round 1, they were swinging a lot of punches. Smith Jr. was getting tagged on the outside a lot. He was trying to throw a punch of his own, but was missing because he was going for broke on most of them. But whilst Beterbiev, he stayed composed on the outside, and he was tagging and lighting up Joe Smith Jr. with big shots. And at the end of round 1, he hit Joe Smith Jr. with a perfectly placed right hand in the side of the head that sent him down to one knee on the canvas, and it was scored a knockdown rightfully. Then in the second round, Joe Smith Jr. came out trying to slug on Beterbiev, but was missing all his punches. Then after, I guess you could say, maybe 45 seconds to a minute or so, Beterbiev lands a beautiful right hand in the side of the head of Joe Smith Jr. while he was coming into the ropes, and then Smith Jr. fell down face first, or not obviously face first down on the canvas, but face first into the ropes, and he was down on his knees into the ropes. It was a beautifully placed shot from Beterbiev, and that was the second knockdown of this fight. Joe Smith Jr. got up, and then Beterbiev went in there for the kill, throwing big combinations, was able to land a 1-2 followed by multiple combinations that sent Joe Smith Jr. down into the ropes. And he would have been knocked down if it wasn't for the ropes, but the referee called it a technical knockdown rightfully because the ropes were holding him up. And then after that third knockdown, Beterbiev went in there, landed big combinations, followed by an uppercut that made him go stumbling around the ring, and the referee waved it off rightfully. This was a destructive win for Artur Beterbiev. What a win this is. So with that being said, what is next for Artur Beterbiev? Now 18-0, 18 knockouts. He has multiple excellent victories. He knocked out Alexander Vozdik, now knocked out Joe Smith Jr., coming off a very solid win before this fight over Marcus Brown. So what is next for him, as I mentioned before? In his next fight, I would love to see him fight Dmitry Bivol for the undisputed light heavyweight world championship, and we could see yet another undisputed world champion in boxing. I know that Bivol is coming off that very solid win over Canelo, and I know he fights for the zone, but I hope that fight could happen. It most likely wouldn't, considering that both are obviously in separate promotions, but I hope it will happen. But, I mean, otherwise, besides Bivol, I mean, maybe Artur Beterbiev could take on someone maybe like a Gilberto Ramirez, but that also might not happen considering Ramirez is with Golden Boy. But other than that, I mean, maybe he could take on someone who's ranked like a lower level guy, like someone like an Adam Dinas, someone like that around there. I mean, there's a chance he could even take on Jean Pascal, because Pascal's coming off a win over an opponent that was supposed to fight Beterbiev in 2020, who is the IBF #1 in Fenlong Meng. He beat him by decision. So we could see a clash between Jean Pascal and Artur Beterbiev in Canada. That's also very, very likely. So in Beterbiev's next fight, he could take on Ramirez, which is a bit slim, Bivol, which is a bit slim on promotional issues, but there is obviously Jean Pascal, who could be his next opponent in Canada, based off of his win over Fenlong Meng. But as for Joe Smith Jr., losing here for the 4th time, second by knockout, I think in his next fight, he'll take on maybe a top 15 solid light heavyweight on Top Rank. I don't really think it's going to be like a really, really big fight. It could be a co-main event, like a sort of comeback fight where he gets a solid win on a co-main, something like that, just to really just rebuild himself back up. He could take on someone else inside the top 10 after that, but otherwise, it's really just going to be rebuilding back up in that top 10 position. So overall, Artur Beterbiev destroys Joe Smith Jr., knocking him down 3 times. and adding the WBO title to his accolades, as he is now the 3-belt WBC, WBO, and IBF light heavyweight world champion, staying with his 100% knockout ratio now at 18-0 with 18 knockouts. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.